Hi everyone, I am Ramy Gafni, eyebrow expert and creator of RAMY Cosmetics, and today I'm going to show you how to shape your eyebrows while we are quarantined at home. I'm not sure where I'm supposed to be looking, so forgive me if I'm not looking right at you. But anyway, you'll only need a couple of tools. Most of you are familiar, and I'm sure you have these products or similar at home. I'm using my Ramy Tweezer by Tweezerman. It's a slanted, rounded tweezer, and I don't like anything too sharp and pointy because you want to be able to take care of the gentle skin around the eye area, but you want it precise enough to grab every little micro hair. I'm also using my Ramy scissors by Tweezerman. You can see they're a little bit curved safety scissors, and they follow the natural curve of your brow bone. And lastly, I'm using my Browtility brush, which I've bent a little bit, so you can, I just like it bent. I feel like it gives me more access to the brow, but you can also straighten it if you like. So that's what you'll need: some good lighting. And if you're really not sure where to begin with your eyebrow, a really good trick I learned of recently is take your eyebrow pencil. This is the Ramy Perfect Brow Wand, and you can outline your eyebrow. I'm not going to actually do it because for me I think it'll just get in my way, but this can really help you if your concern is over tweezing or ruining the shape that you might like, but you just want to keep the brow clean. But you want to outline your eyebrow, but make the outline larger than your actual eyebrow. That will prevent you from overdoing it, because you'll stay outside that line, and it's sort of like a safety net for those of you that need it. It can be very helpful, and then once you remove the line, you can always, clean up around it a little bit if you need to. So to get started, I always tell people the first thing you want to do is brush the hairs up. I've been growing in my brows. This is all of like 2 weeks, and I don't know if you can really see, how long the hairs have gotten. That's a recent development. And I've got a lot of stray hairs coming in from underneath, but I just couldn't stand it one more second. I was going to try to grow them into like their natural unibrow, but you can see I can feel the hairs in here. I don't know if it's showing up on camera, but I've really been like letting them rip. I call this going back to square one as much as you possibly can. And since we've all been at home and had more important things to worry about, this can actually be a positive, because the more you have to work with, I always say, the more I have to work with, the more perfect I can make the eyebrows. So it's always good to go back to square one, let those little areas fill in that maybe you've needed to let fill in, and sort of start with a clean slate. So the first thing you want to do is you want to brush them up. In my case, I know already, I see the excess length above the brow. It's also a good idea for some people, comb down, and you'll see the excess length there as well, sometimes even more so. But what you want to do is comb up, and you want to brush it in the area where you see less excess length, because that's taking a conservative approach. We don't want to create a gap. And then you want to trim the hairs, and I'm going to move in real close here because I can't really see. You want to trim along the line of your eyebrow. And you always want to take a conservative approach. I always tell people, when they're maintaining their brows at home, if you're going to trim, take a conservative approach. Trim it as though you're trimming split ends. You can always trim off a little bit more, but it's, if you've done too much, you might create a gap, and then there's nothing to do but wait for it to grow back. The other issue is I'm left-handed. I'm fairly adept at the left eyebrow. The right side has forever been a challenge to me, and I have to be extra careful. So your dominant side, you'll usually have an easier time. Your non-dominant side is where people get in trouble sometimes. So I always have to be really, really careful with this side. And I've kind of, do it whichever way is comfortable for you. But again, you don't want to overdo. Okay, so I've taken off the excess, and once you've trimmed, you can see where you need to tweeze. In my case, I know where I need to tweeze, but the issue that a lot of people have, clients always tell me, this area, keeping that nice line. So, some people go in too much, they create a little a gap here that gives you like the hook effect. So you want to keep it in straight lines. And I'm going to tell you my 3 golden rules for eyebrows that I developed when I was training people for my eyebrow bars. And I realized there are certain rules that I always follow. And I feel like if you follow these rules yourself, it prevents you from most of the pitfalls that people fall into when they are doing eyebrows. The first rule is take a conservative approach. When in doubt, don't pluck it out. People have heard me say this a million times. When in doubt, don't pluck it out. You can leave it to pluck another day. If it really needs to go, you'll realize it, and take it out then, like tomorrow, the next day, next week. So if you're not sure, leave it. And a conservative approach, just like trimming, you want to do it conservatively. You don't want to overdo it. The number one mistake that people make when they're doing their eyebrows is they overdo it. So we don't want to overdo it. We want to just, especially when you're maintaining at home, you want to keep it clean and neat looking. You don't want to get overly creative. Which brings me to my second rule, which is to follow nature. Following nature means, our nature gave us, whatever your natural eyebrow is. And the reason when I shape brows that it always looks so good is because I align it with your bone structure. So for example, one of my eyebrows is naturally arched high, and the other one is like a flat line down here and is like a work of art. But even this is the work of art. Even this one, it still aligns with my bone structure. This brow bone is higher than this one naturally, and the eyebrows coincide with that, and that's why they look good. Whereas if you get overly creative and try to go off of your natural bone structure, it's going to look off. It might look good at a certain angle, but you want it to look good at all angles, not just one angle. So you always want to follow nature, and that means the peak of your eyebrow, it should peak, the arch should peak where the brow bone protrudes the most. That's very, very important. And so follow nature. We're following nature. We're being conservative. I'll talk about symmetry in a moment. The third rule is think in terms, when you're tweezing, you want to think in terms of straight lines. And what do I mean by that? I mean, you want this line, even though it's like at an angle up to my arch, up to my peak, this is a straight line. It's not curving in this way, it's not curving down, it's a straight line. And so you want to think in terms of straight lines up to the peak, straight line to the end, straight line down from the peak, like the top of a triangle. If you do that, that will help you avoid most of the pitfalls people fall into when they're doing their own eyebrows. Straight line, straight line. And so we're being conservative, we are following nature, and we are thinking in terms of straight lines. Now, symmetry, in terms of being symmetrical, don't over obsess about it. People ask about the measuring, if where it falls from the side of your nose. This is meant to be a template, and so take it with a grain of salt. I prefer the eyebrows should be a little too close together than too far apart. You can always take out a couple of more hairs if you want to widen the space between the brows, but better to have too much than too little. So, go like this if you want. It really should be, I'll do it with this side. It really should be, going straight up and boom. I prefer it sticks out a little further in as opposed to too far apart. Same thing with the tail. You could do that 45-degree angle everyone talks about. You can. It should be, again, a guideline, a template, not a hard and fast rule. So don't over obsess about, is this one longer than this one? You can tweak it a little bit if you want to, but again, better a little too long than short and stumpy. You can always adjust accordingly over time. But, you know, if you overdo, there's nothing to do but hope and pray it grows back and be patient as it grows back. So again, conservative, follow nature, straight rules. And when you're pulling out the hairs, you want to pull the hairs out in the direction of hair growth. Okay, and I'm not going to actually do it now because I'm actually not close enough to really see. I'm pulling out hairs that I know need to go, like this one that's been torturing me for 2 weeks. But that basically gives you the idea. So I'm also offering virtual eyebrow sessions. You can book it on the RAMY Cosmetics app, or on by calling me or emailing me. You all know how to reach me. So we could do a virtual lesson where I can do it via Zoom or FaceTime and sort of guide you through a session to help you avoid the pitfalls. But I think you get the general idea. Again, outline your brows if you need to. You can also use, I have the Brow Master stencil. I never use these on clients when I'm actually working on a client, but they're good for use at home if you have a really hard time, doing that straight line. Again, it gives you a template. You can draw, outline the brow using the stencil, and then make sure that, you stay outside that line, and it'll help prevent any hook and, misshaping your eyebrows. This is the first video. Let's call it Eyebrows 101, and I hope it helps you, but please give me your feedback, and I'm happy to demonstrate and do more on the next video. Thank you, and stay home and stay safe, and I look forward to seeing you all again. Bye-bye.